So solving linear equations in one variable. So first, what makes an equation linear? So if we have a linear equation, we're going to have nothing crazy going on. I don't have any square roots with a letter underneath it. I'm not dividing by a letter or a variable, and I don't have any exponents other than 1. So an example of a linear equation would be something like x plus 3 equals 5. Right? I'm not dividing by a variable. I can divide by numbers all day long and it still be linear. But if I divide by a variable, it's no longer linear. My variable, it does technically have an exponent. It's an exponent of 1, which is what a linear equation will have. If it were x squared or x to the 3rd power, 4th power, anything like that, it would no longer be linear. So this is a nice, pretty linear equation, and we want to solve it. To solve a linear equation means to get the variable all by itself on one side and all the plain numbers or constants on the other side. And we will use addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division to accomplish that. And we decide which operation to use by looking at what operations are going on inside the problem. So here I'm adding 3 to the x, and I want to get the x all by itself. So the operation that's being used is addition. So to get rid of that, I'll use the opposite operation. So instead of adding 3, I'm going to subtract 3. And whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other side. So my x just comes straight down. Positive 3 minus 3 cancels out, so that gives me 0. Bring down my equal sign, and 5 minus 3 gives me 2. So there we go. I have my variable or my letter on one side and my plain constant or plain number on the other side. And this is our solution to the linear equation. Now, of course, it gets a little more involved than that. So let's look at an involved problem. There we go. So here is something a little more involved. I have 2x plus 5 equals 3 times x minus 1 plus 4. This is still linear. I'm not dividing by a variable. I don't have any crazy exponents, not taking any square roots, nothing like that. Just some plain x's, some plain numbers. And my goal is still the same, trying to get all the x's on one side, all the plain numbers on the other. So I do have one little issue here. Here's an x on the right-hand side. I want to get all the x's on the left, but this poor little x is stuck inside these parentheses, so I got to bust it out. The way we'll do that is by distributing the number on the outside. So all that means is to multiply everything inside the parentheses times what is on the outside. So we're going to do 3 times x, which gives me 3x, and 3 times this, negative 1. So I end up with 2x plus 5 equals, we said this would give me 3x minus 3, and then bring down my plus 4. So now I busted that x out. Now, looking at each side individually, I want to kind of clean things up before I move stuff around. So what I'm looking for are like terms. Now, what I mean by that is looking at just one side of the equal sign. Do I have 2 items or 2 terms? Terms are separated by addition or subtraction, so 2x is a term, 5 is a term. So looking on the left side, do I have like terms? Meaning, do I have 2 things that both have an x or are both plain numbers? And on the left, the answer is no. I have 2x and I have 5. This has a variable, this does not, so they are not like terms, so I'm going to leave that alone for right now. Going to the right-hand side, I'm looking for the same thing, any like terms. I have 3x, but none of the other terms have an x, so it doesn't have any like terms. But then I have negative 3 and 4. These are just plain numbers. They are on the same side of the equal sign. Therefore, they are like terms. So I'm just going to combine them together. Negative 3 plus 4 gives me positive 1. So I have 2x plus 5 equals 3x. And we said negative 3 plus 4 gave me positive 1. There we go. I cleaned up both sides, and so now I can focus on getting all my x's on one side by addition or subtraction and getting all my plain numbers on the other side. Again, by addition or subtraction, just the opposite of whatever's happening. So I want to move all of my x's to the left-hand side. or the left side of the equal sign. I have a 2x here on the left side, so it's good, that's where it should be. But I also have an x on the right side, and I want to move it to the left side. This is a positive 3x, or it's being added, however you want to think of it, but this is a positive 3. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides to get all my x's on the same side. So 2x minus 3x's leaves me with negative 1x, or negative x. The 1 is understood. Bring down my positive 5 equals 3x minus 3x. That gives me 0 x's, or just 0, cancels out. And bring down my positive 1. So now I have all the x's on the left. I want to get all the plain numbers on the right-hand side. So I'm going to look on the left-hand side. Do I have any plain numbers? Yes, I do. I have this positive 5. So I'm going to move it to the other side by doing the opposite operation. This is adding 5, so I will subtract 5 from both sides. Bring down the negative 1x, or negative x. 5 minus 5 is 0. That cancels out. Bring down my equal sign, and 1 minus 5 gives me negative 4. Now my end goal, again like we said, get all the x's on one side, all the plain numbers on the other. I'll know I'm all done when I have just a plain x on the left-hand side. So if there's any number being multiplied or divided to x, I need to do the opposite operation to get rid of it. Now we said there was an understood 1 right here, so I have a negative 1x. I'll know I'm done when I have a positive 1x. So I need to still get rid of this negative, same as if it were 2x here or a 5x there or something. This is negative 1 times x. So the operation that's going on here is multiplication. So what is the opposite of multiplication? It's division. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1. Negative 1 divided by negative 1 gives me positive 1. So I have positive 1x, which is what I want. Bring down my equal sign. Negative 4 divided by negative 1 gives me positive 4. A negative divided by negative is a positive, and 4 divided by 1 is 4. So my final answer is x equals 4.